morning. Oh, my bird is talking back there. He just said pretty bird, which he doesn't say very often. And that's a nice little sign for us. His name is Stevie. I've shown him on here before, but I'm not going to do that today because I have other things I want to get to, and this reading will go on too long if I do that. The very first thing that I want to do is honor this beautiful kachina. It's about to be spring, and so it's a nice time to do that. This kachina doll is a Hopi kachina, and from what is today within the borders of Arizona, I believe, in Turtle Island. This is a wolf kachina. This was a gift from my father, who used to do kind of the snowbird thing where he would winter in Arizona. And at some point, he started to try to get us give us gifts that were more meaningful and less just like, electronics, TVs, things like that. He started to get us things as he aged that were more kind of items of meaning and ceremony and beauty. And I shared on here before the raku pot that he gave all of us. And at one time he gave us each a kachina, which I love and cherish this kachina. It's made it with me through a lot of tumultuous times in my life. And about 10 years ago, I think, was the last time I tried to look up what is the wolf kachina. And I feel like at that time there wasn't a lot online about it and what the wolf kachina represents. But today, when I looked ahead of this reading, there was information. So I wanted to read that because the wolf kachina is honored in the antelope dance and in the water serpent dance of the Hopi and possibly Navajo or Diné nations. I'm not sure, but it's the same sacred idea linked to some degree to the Mexica feathered serpent, or serpiente emplumado. And so I was very intrigued to know that. I didn't know that until today, and I have always loved snakes. I have a relationship with snakes. In fact, I have a tattoo of the snake, the serpent from the Tree of Life with the apple. That's kind of close to my heart. And I feel like I channel snake spirits a lot, or they come through in my readings, and I find them to be sacred, right? I think they're beautiful creatures. And so to learn that this wolf kachina is connected to the serpent dance, to me was really nice to learn. And in addition, if you can see these here, these are my friend Lana Jock's work. She does amazing beadwork. You can't really buy her work anywhere online. She is Celilo Wayam from Celilo Falls in the Gorge, which is a federally unrecognized tribe, but Chief Tommy Thompson tried to hold out as long as he could against the dams and the flooding of the Celilo, which is coming up here. The anniversary of the inundation of Celilo Falls is also coming up on March 10th. It's a day of mourning for Columbia River Gorge bands of Indians and treaty tribes. It's a sacred site, and it still exists under Lake Celilo. In fact, if they removed the Dalles Dam, this falls could be restored. And there's a small group of people, including Celilo people, that would like to see that happen. But it's understandably a very traumatizing memory for many of the treaty people in the Gorge region who have been somewhat resistant to that idea because they don't want to be jerked around with something so traumatic like raising an ancestor from the dead, is what one woman told me. The chief of the Yakima Nation, Shirley Stay High Heath, told me that it's like raising the dead, and why would we do that in a way? And I remember asking, even if it could be permanent, like we could restore the falls permanently, it wouldn't be something that would go away again. And she said, I don't know, it's such a wound. But anyways, that just all came through. I wasn't necessarily planning to talk about Celilo until the anniversary, but it's coming through because of my dear friend Lana, and this is her beadwork. And that's water related, right? And so before I go too much farther, I wanted to just read about this wolf kachina and what the wolf kachina represents in honor of this kachina that was a gift from my dad. And I even managed to keep its original feathers through all these moves. I mean, as in my 20s and 30s, I lived a tumultuous life. But I took very good care of this kachina, and it's even got its original feathers that he was made with. And I'm very glad that I've been able to do that. So I just want to read what I wrote down. I believe that the artist of this, although I don't have the name or what this wolf came with anymore, I think though, just in looking online, this artist is M.E. Largo, I think is the person that made this kachina, just based on style that I've seen in other wolf kachina dolls. And this is from Kachina House, which is an online place that you can purchase authentic indigenous created artworks in Turtle Island. The wolf kachina is a great pack hunter, and it helps and guides hunters. They appear in the mixed dance and the water serpent ceremony. After the dances, the wolf is offered cornmeal or prayer feathers so the people can learn from him. Secure game. Learn from him and secure game. Wolf kachinas navigate the earth, stars, and sea. They alert others to danger. And so then I was intrigued about the water serpent ceremony, and I wanted to know if I could find out more about it. That's where I read about its link to the feathered serpent, which is a mexica, also known as the Aztec power symbol, right? In fact, there are feathered serpents all over in the art of Mexico, and including at Teotihuacan outside of Mexico City. And it says the ceremony of the water serpent, or the serpent ceremony, ensures plenty of spring water and rain for crops like corn, beans, and squash. And the men that do the dance often dance, according to these accounts, with living rattlesnakes, including in their teeth, and they are not harmed. And then what I read as well is they would take these serpents down into a kiva, which is a below ground ceremonial space, a portal between worlds, and they would wash these snakes and bathe them in a ceremony, and then release them back into the wild as an offering for rain. And I just think it's so beautiful, and I'm so honored and grateful that my dad thought to get us a gift like this. I just love this kachina. And now that I know what he likes to be offered, I'm going to make my own offering to him of cornmeal and feathers. I've got plenty of feathers. In fact, I even brought in this raven feather to just honor this reading today. This is a raven feather that was found here where I live. And where I reside is Cowlitz country. It's Cowlitz tribe territory, as well as the Chinookan band's territory. The Chinook are seeking federal recognition. They were granted federal recognition at one time in 2000, I believe, and then for some reason the Department of the Interior reversed its decision, which is really horrible. The Corps of Discovery, the Lewis and Clark voyage, wintered over in the area of Astoria at the mouth of the river into the Pacific Ocean, and they would not have survived without the Chinook. So anyways, that's something else to know about the land where I live, which is Chinookan and Cowlitz territory. So now I wanted to share a few other things. Oh, and to burn, I've got some cardamom and some myrrh here for incense today, because the Middle East has been kind of coming through a lot as well, and I wanted to honor that. And some acacia for our privacy. I've been craving power and privacy, right, and my own privacy and protection, as well as things that smell good and uplift us and protect us, like this myrrh and cardamom and acacia. So it's an example of the European and sort of Middle Eastern range of plant medicine, and the South American with this acacia, right? It's a nice blend. So I had notes here so I would stay organized. Okay, One of the channeled messages, this was not in a dream, it was just a channeled message that I had. It was being shown about a time in my life where I was really going like balls to the wall, like driven hard. I was driving myself really hard. I was in graduate school for social work to become a social worker, which was in itself, like when I went into graduate school, I was very cavalier about it. Like, oh, I'm going to go to graduate school. Well, it's hard. Going to graduate school is really hard. And at one time I was like in a ball in the fetal position on my bed crying, just like, I don't know if I can get through this. But it was in part because I had stacked myself up with so many other things. I took a course in Western herbalism at that time as well, and so I was learning a foundational course of Western herbalism, which I'm from the West. I'm not indigenous. I don't claim indigeneity in any way, although sometimes people think I am. I don't know why that is. I have dark features when I'm not dyeing my hair blonde, so maybe it's, and olive skin. I don't know. Maybe it's just an assumption people make. But I would get asked, especially before I dyed my hair blonde, where I was from a lot, right? But I'm not indigenous North America and Turtle Island, so I just want to make that clear. I'm Eastern and Western European ancestry. But so back to this. So it was showing me my own experience to describe or affirm to you about perhaps you may have been really driving yourself or come through a period of driving yourself to the point that people around you didn't really understand. That's what happened to me. I was going to graduate school. I was doing this Western herbalism course, and I was also doing a hedge witch kind of small group learning with Corinne Boyer, my teacher in my tradition, the Eastern and Western European, up in around the Olympic Peninsula in the state of Washington. All of that was happening at the same time, and it didn't make any sense even to me at times. People didn't understand why I was like working myself into the ground so much at that point. But what has started to become true for me, and I've started to realize, is that it happened for a reason. And I don't believe in workaholism and just work yourself into the ground, and that's what I was doing at that time. But it was all stuff for my growth. And so it was like a trial by fire in a way, or like a rite of passage maybe, that I was putting myself through for reasons that I don't really know until now, which is that it's all coming together for me now in doing this channel. I would even buy things like this cardamom and other herbs, not even really knowing if, and I've been moving them around, not for as long as this Kachina, and now they're in use for me years later after buying them. And it's like, oh, this is why I was doing all that. And even though I wasn't using it and even somewhat confused about where the impulse was to buy it, now I see. Now it's helping me come together in my creative work. So that's a message for someone out there that may be doing it alone. Like I felt a lot of times like I was on that journey alone, even though I had people around me that cared about me. It was very solo, solitary. And like I said, at points I was like in the fetal position crying, like not understanding how I was going to make it. But it was self-imposed, like a hanged one image is coming through from tarot. So that might be for someone. There's a reason, especially if it's spiritual practice like that, okay? That it's okay. And you might even be like me now, seeing what the reason was. Or you're in the process like I was, and you're like, why doesn't anybody get this? Or why, I don't even get it. Why am I doing this to myself, right? So, shoot, I think I did this again where I put too much on before the charcoal was ready. Sometimes I do that. Okay, and then one more thing. This was a very vivid dream I had. I shared it with my niece because she played a prominent role, but I also think that this has relevance for someone because it was the quality of dream that I'm learning I'm to share here when I have it. I'm just going to go ahead and read what I wrote here because I don't want to have to try to recall it now. I wrote it down, so I'll just read what I wrote. In the dream, I'm resting at home, which was a home that I grew up in on the Washougal River, which is upstream from where I live now, a tributary to the Nichiwana River, also known as the Columbia River. I grew up there. It's a precious jewel of a river. I just absolutely cherish the fact that my dad had the wisdom to raise me out there because he made a lot of mistakes and he didn't I would almost even venture to say that that was one of the best decisions he ever made in his life, was for us to live there and for me to get to grow up there. I had so much comfort there, and I did a lot of healing there from a severely abusive situation that both he and I had been in. I really connected to nature out there, and I was alone a lot out there as a kid. I was raised almost like an only child for a lot of my childhood until my brother came to live with us. So in this dream, I was on that river again, living in a different house, but it was where I cherish and grew up. My dad was there with me, but he had dementia. And so he was living there, but it was sort of like his part late in life, his very elder years, when he was in the stages of dementia, which was a very difficult time for us as a family, of course, like it is for many people. I feel like I'm all over the place. Sorry, let me just breathe here for a second. I was working like I do now. I'm a clinical social worker, and I have an online private practice as a clinical social worker. So even though it's the home that I no longer live in, I was there as an adult doing my work that I do now. My niece and some of our sort of close extended family all of a sudden showed up right at the end of a hard day, and I had had a really hard day clinically with clients that were just processing a lot of trauma, and I was being really impacted by it. And my day had just ended, and I was relieved to be able to go in and lay down in my room and just rest and try to release the sorrows of my day. And all of a sudden my niece showed up, Natalie, and she had some of our close extended family with her to surprise me. And I was like, oh my gosh, hi, what are you doing here? And she was there, they were there, it was just a small group, like 3 people, to surprise me. And I was like, oh man, well, okay, I was just about to lay down, but what do you feel like doing? Do you want to go down and take a dip in the river? And my niece was like, yeah, you read my mind. So as I was going to get ready, and I can't even read my writing here. They were just there to kind of show me love. And so I kept trying to host them and get ready, but I kept kind of like getting interrupted, because more and more people were showing up at the house, and they were people that were close to me, like very close, like some of my oldest friends, like people who I normally enjoy being around, but it's like they were just flooding my home with like, surprise, surprise, like they just kept saying that they were there to celebrate me, but I didn't know any of it was going to happen, and I felt very overwhelmed and really like, oh my God, like it was more than I could process. And it's like their energy just completely inundated my home and took over. It was all under the sort of pretense of being there to celebrate me. And at one point I took my best friend aside and I just said, gosh, this is really great. I just wish I would have known, because I feel kind of overwhelmed. And she just instantly turned on a dime on me and was annoyed with me and frustrated and felt like I was being ungrateful. And I was trying to explain, I was like, no, it's not that. Like, I just, like, wouldn't you feel overwhelmed if all of a sudden your home was inundated, even if it was with people that you like? Because I'm an introvert, and so is this friend actually in real life. And she was like, I don't know, she just was like not above it. She wasn't about it. She was not connecting with what I was saying. Then all of a sudden they all rolled out this cake, like on a rolling table. It wasn't like a large, tall cake. It was like a flat cake. But it was decorated like Leo with flames and lions. And they were like, hey, wah, like this rollout again for me. Like it was, and I was like, my God, is this for my birthday? Again, I was very confused. I was like, it's not my birthday. Or I didn't know it was like, I didn't know any of this was happening. So the quick brief moment I had of enjoying that cake, I was then again just overwhelmed as more and more people continue to arrive. And I would kind of try to gently hint around to a couple people like, yeah, gosh, I feel kind of overwhelmed. I wish I'd known, because I still couldn't even get down to the river. And my niece, I could tell, was starting to feel overwhelmed. I'm like, oh God, how do I help my Aunt Cynthia, right? And I was like, just don't leave me, like stay near me. I want to be wherever you are at this gathering, because I'm totally overwhelmed. Like I started to feel like she was the only one I could trust at the party. And I was like, don't go down to the river without me, please. Like, let me just keep trying to find my suit. I just want to get out of here. I want to get out of the house and down to the river. But I couldn't. People kept interrupting me. And so, finally, I know I said I was going to read this, but never mind. It just started to become clear to me. It started to become clear to me, like, everybody wants to be here because they want to enjoy and avail themselves of this special place. They don't necessarily want to be here for me, but they're saying they're here for me. Like, they're like, this is all for you. Why are you complaining? But really, they just wanted to party in this cool atmosphere. And, like, I was the pretense for it, right? Like, gave them a reason to get to kind of flood this house. And, like, it just felt very insincere at some point, and I didn't even know how to handle it. And I think that's where the dream ended. Is that right? Yeah. My sister showed up at the very end of the dream, and this is right before I woke up. And I've had a falling out with my sister in the last couple years, and it was kind of sad because in the dream it was like the old times before this falling out, when we used to just have so much fun together for years and years. And in the dream, I was really torn. It really tore my heart up because I was like, this feels like the old times to see her again. It was like a breath of air in the midst of all this chaos, except I knew that it wasn't the same because in the dream we had the fallout that we've actually had in real life. And so I had a very mixed feeling because I wanted it so badly, like, to be how it was before, but it won't be. It never will be, right? And I knew that in the dream. And so that's when I woke up. The reason I'm sharing the dream is because it was so vivid. I know it wasn't just for me. So you might relate to something like this, that you feel like your boundaries are being violated, even when people are saying it's for you, or it's because they like you and want to be with you. It's too much. Like, you're not knowing how to. It's saying you need to, and that you have at least one person that you can trust. So that's something to hang on to. In my dream, it happened to be my niece Natalie, who I do love and trust, and so it's really great that she was in my dream. But it was really intense and so vivid that I knew. I had another dream 2 nights ago where I was out on a shore along water, and a family showed up with a child that was like a teenage child that was kind of out of control. And I looked over, and this child had thrown a ball out into the water, and it was some kind of an invention that as they threw this ball, a net would come out of it behind it and unfurl in this way that now it's a fishing net and it's going to catch fish. Only when this was like a teenage child that did this, kind of in an out of control way, it ensnared me and a bunch of other people. So that might have meaning also. So anyways, I just wanted to share those dreams. I might do a little bit of gazing here into the quartz crystal ball. And now I'll just do some, I want to see if I can burn a little bit more here. I'm going to stick with this deck here. It's just been really beautiful. This deck is by Manzel Bowman. I really love it. You can find him on Instagram. I was not sure where else I couldn't find where else to buy his deck. You might be able to buy it through another means, but I didn't find it. I was able to find it through Instagram. It's very beautiful. It's representative of the African continent, and it's just stunning. The images are really beautiful, but they're also futuristic. It's like a really great combination. Very beautiful. And I think on his Instagram he says he's a digital alchemist, which I really like. What do we need to understand right now about this time and about all of these themes as they've come together here in this layout? That dream, the Kachina, spring, the serpent. What do we need to know? Portals, the Kiva, right? A Kiva is a portal. Water and where rivers converge are also considered portals. I live where there's 3 rivers that converge. The Cowlitz, the Koimen, and the Nichiwana. And I grew up near where waters converge, where the Washougal spills into the Nichiwana. And Washougal means rushing water. Maybe in Sahaptin, or it might, I think you say it Kishk is the language. What do we need to know right now in this collective? Thank you for being here. My name is Cynthia. I'm a clinical social worker, trained in Western herbalism, and I've been reading cards since I was 15. Oh, and I recently learned, here, let me do this first, sorry, getting scattered. Wow, powerful energy is happening. Transformation and change. And, yeah, let me keep going here. Wow, this is very powerful. Very powerful. I'm going to tell what the cards are here. So in the cornerstone is the Knight of Wands, the Tower, the Chariot, the Devil. Then we have the Hierophant, the Hermit, the Ten of Swords, the Ten of Cups, the Two of Cups, and the Two of Pentacles. So if you know anything about cards, this is an extremely potent layout. Very, very potent energy is present. And we just had a 3-3 portal. 3 is my number for sure. Although my life path number is 4. I've always had 3 as my lucky number since I was a kid. And 3 is an ascended master number. So you are on a deeply, deeply, profoundly spiritual journey. It may feel very good and evil, angels and demons, Rosicrucians, right? Or something like that. Moorish. The Moors are people that I really resonated with. Like when I went to the Alhambra in Spain, I was very fortunate to live in Spain and Granada for about 3 months when I was in school. It just blew my mind. It blew my mind, the Alhambra. It was the most, up until that point, the most, and probably even still, amazing construction I had ever seen of human endeavors. So beautiful. So this is like you. This is something very profound happening for you. So if you're catching this reading, you're on a journey like what I've already been describing. These things mean something to you also. These symbols, these archetypes, good and evil, angels and demons, Hierophant, Devil, Hermit, right? It's very, very powerful. Something is changing permanently. You may feel like you're crossing through a portal because portals have already come up again, like kivas and bodies of water where rivers converge. The cornerstone is the Knight of Wands energy, and I'm taking this to mean you, that you're fearlessly going through this, and you may be a fire sign, but the fire element is very important to you. This is you in the cornerstone energy. You're going through it feels like life and death. You're racing towards a change in a way that is like explosive almost. It could even be like an earthquake or a natural disaster. It could be on the personal level, but also in the Fax position is this Devil energy. And the way that I'm reading it here with this Tower and this Chariot is that it is, again, highly spiritual. The spirit world is very important here. You might be channeling a lot of spiritual information. You might be in ceremony yourself, doing ceremony to get guidance from your guides or your God, right? This is something very, very powerful. It feels like a vulnerability for you, and in fact, you might feel like you have someone very powerful working against you that works in dark magic or that works with demons, right? If we're speaking of angels and demons here, you might be feeling that, like these powers are so powerful that it's like a bolt of lightning, like a lightning strike. I remember a couple years ago, I had my eyes closed and I was meditating, and just as I closed my eyes, a huge bolt of lightning struck a tree, and then the tree was on fire, and I was like, whoa, like I was not expecting that. Like I had just sat down and whoosh, it was in my third eye seeing it. It was very rumbling, like it felt like it shook me physically. And when I was done meditating, I logged on to the internet, and a tree had just been struck by lightning where I was born in Vancouver. So it's something like that, okay? Something like that might have relevance for you. You may have had a lightning strike to your very foundations, like you're the tree, and something really profound is happening to you. It's nothing to fear. You're going within. You know that you need to go within and follow the guidance of your guides and your spiritual journey and your process. You're not listening to anything but that right now. In fact, it's your strength. You know to surrender to this process. The Ten of Swords coming out in a strengths position tells me that you understand that you need to surrender to these forces, but it might be scary at times. That you might feel like a very powerful, like witch doctor or somebody like that is in power around you, right? Somebody that might be battling you, honestly, spiritually, is what's coming through. But you understand that you need to surrender to your inner voice. Not surrender to this witch doctor type energy, but surrender to humble yourself, right? You don't have to have all the answers. You're trying to get spiritual guidance through this powerfully transformative time. A tower and a chariot is no joke. It is no joke. Right next to a devil, this is very serious what you're going through. And so you may be, like I was saying, I now see why I was having to do all of that intense level spiritual work all at the same time. My clinical social work degree, my Western herbalism, my hedge witch learning, like it was all happening at the same time. I didn't even understand it myself. Now it's making sense. And you might be like that. Like, thank God I've done the work I've done because I know that I'm okay and I know what I need to follow. The distraction for you is that you just want joy. You want to have fun. You want joy in your life. And that might be hard and coming up in real conflict against, like, but it's not time for that right now. Right now, something really major is happening that I have to attend to before my reward. Your devil might be really saying, like, just get out of here, get out, let's run, let's get away from this, let's just go somewhere where we're happy. And that's okay, that can be your motivator, but it's not the time right now. You know right now, you can trust right now that your relationships are coming. Like in my dream, my niece was there who I trusted. Even though I felt surrounded by a lot of confusion and chaos, that I couldn't seem to find the ground under my feet, my niece was there and I knew I could trust her, and it was a huge comfort in the dream. So even though you might be like, I want to go, I want to get out, I want to be where there's relief, I'm tired, this is exhausting and scary at times, in your wise mind, you know that you have people that you can count on. You're not entirely alone, although your main source right now is spirit. It's not other people's opinions. You do know that you have other solid people around you, which is what your angel on your shoulder is reminding you of. Even if the devil on your shoulder is saying, let's just get away, let's just go somewhere where we don't have to deal with all of this intensity. Where things are headed is a choice. You're approaching a choice point here. So let's learn more about the choice. What is the choice that you're coming to? It might be this that we're talking about, like wanting to run or flee from this. Spirit might be saying, okay, if that's really what you want, go ahead and choose that. You have free will. You can choose to abandon this process and just go somewhere where you're happier, right? I have a sense, though, that that's not the path right now. Although that's not for me to tell you. I'm not your teacher here. I'm just reading the cards as they come out. What is this choice about that you're approaching? It has to do with your joy and your heart. Which of your senses do you value the most? And so it might be a choice to just go with what you can see and know, which is interesting. I was watching this documentary last night, about highly strange events, like where there's all these intersections, if you follow this world at all, of like cryptids. I believe in Bigfoot. I love Bigfoot, Yetis, Sasquatch. I am a believer in that spirit and that animal. But I was watching about like highly strange events and like the Fae, the land of the Fae, the mists of Avalon, like things that people have been reporting on since the beginning of human oral storytelling. And one theory out there proposed by a ufologist was that highly strange events are coordinated efforts to confuse us, because humans are so clinging to what they can see with their logic that it makes sense that they would use highly strange events as like kind of a warfare with us in some ways, to confuse us, because we can't make sense of it. And our minds want to make sense of it and operate in the world of logic. And so that might be part of what this is this might be like a Matrix kind of moment where Neo is given the choice. You can take this pill and forget what you've seen and just live in the Matrix and have a more or less peaceful existence that's less worried. Or you can follow this truth and know that you're in the land of truth, even though it's scary and unknown to all of us that have decided to be in the land of truth. That's coming through really strongly. That's the choice that you're being faced with, is whether you're going to stay in this deeply profound and often frightening world of spiritual like warfare, I'm just going to say it, or you can decide, I'm not going to. I'm going to step out of that and just go live a life where I'm having fun at the beach and try to tune all of this out. You know, I think that's kind of what it's about, that's coming through for you. What would you like to achieve with your life? It's these choices here. Do you want to just be only in the world of your senses? Like I just did a reading about the importance of our senses and how it's important to treat our body to pleasure, because otherwise surviving on the earth plane, what's the point, right? We need to have some joy, right? But you might be at this crossroads of like, yeah, but can I really handle this level of, or, you know, do I want to just kind of stay in the world of what I can see and touch, right? Talk about a time when you felt excluded. I know for me, when I started further and further down the spiritual path that I'm on, at one point I turned away from it and said, I don't want to do this because it's taking me away from the people around me. And I love people and I love my community. And if I keep going down this path, it's going to take me further and further away from the people right around me. And I chose no. I said, I want this. I want secure. I want this marriage. I want this life over here. Well, for me, I'm not speaking for you, but for me, it set me back, honestly, because I meant to be on a spiritual path. And I knew that, but I feared it. And so I turned away from it for a while. And many people can relate to that. Having a crisis of faith, if you're a faithful person, where you suddenly start doubting, like, maybe all of this is bullshit, right? So that's what this is talking about, and why it's so huge, is that it's very angel and devil. Like, is the church, is religion a product of the devil? Is it something meant to control us? You're really grappling with these issues. What's real? What's not, right? Like, what is reality? This is what you're facing here. So it's very profound. I'm with you. It's scary. A lot of people in my life worry or get uneasy about indulging this side of me too much, because I had a psychotic episode when I was in my 20s, and they have a memory for that, and I think that they start to worry that I'm losing touch with reality. I know I'm not anymore, because there are people all over the place that do believe in this world and don't think I'm crazy. And so I know I'm not crazy as a clinical social worker, because I don't have any of the other symptoms. I'm not running around paranoid. I'm not, when I hear voices, it's more of like a claircognizant understanding about things. It's rare that I actually hear voices, right? Like, it's stuff like that I luckily have the training to know that I'm not psychotic. I'm going through a spiritual process and a spiritual ascension. But sometimes I worry about how much I can share that with my community that I've come up with until this point, because they're not in this world. Most of them are atheists, right? It could be something like that you're really having to face. What am I going to choose here? Which one? Time's running out. That's a feeling that's coming through. Queen of Swords, you're really having to use discernment about this process, and you're trying to hang on to your air element and not go too far off, because we need our logic. We need logic. I'm not trying to dismiss the logical mind or the element of air. We need it. I need logic. I'm not just going to go so off into the deep end, because that's when people start thinking I'm Jesus, right? Starting cults. Like, no. It requires an intense level of discernment. Walking that very fine line, the blade of truth. It's not an easy line to walk, right? 5 of Cups, it comes with some disappointment of saying goodbye, or not even necessarily a goodbye, but just a retreat away from maybe a community that you've always been with. In my dream, I started realizing they're not with me on this path that I'm going on, though. They're on their own path, and that's okay, but I don't need to fear the path that I'm going on, right? Oops, what happened here? Did I put the deck back together crazy? I did. I got this all crazy. King of Pentacles, that's a very earth-based, right? Like, you may want to have a lot of material security in order to continue. That's been true for me too. Like, I don't have a lot of material security. I'm an owner in this land I live on, but I don't own it by myself, right? I own it in partnership with someone else, and we're in the process of severing that contract. It's very stressful and unknown, probably for the other person too, although that's not really my domain of concern anymore. 9 of Pentacles, you're trying to find your security in your own sovereign experience, even if it means parting ways. And it's a hanged one experience for you. The image that came out before I even laid the cards out, which is a spiritual rite of passage. It's very powerful. This is a very powerful process that you're going through. And I want to honor it in case other people in your life are not honoring it with you, okay? Because it can be very lonely. Hermit is at the very center of things. You see that you can trust what you're going through, but you're grieving, and you may be still having a desire to look back at points and be like, God, really though? I've had it, I'm farther along at this point. I'm not as worried about it anymore. I'm much more trusting of my guides, but it took a while, especially because I had what would have been diagnosed as a psychotic episode. Had I seen a prescriber, right? They would have diagnosed me as psychotic. Well, that's not true in other parts of the world or in other communities, right? I now know why I went through that experience. And I value it, and I'm grateful for it, as terrifying as it was. It was also spiritual. It wasn't just psychotic. It was also a spiritual process. I acted very psychotic, though. I could have easily ended up in the hospital on really heavy medication, right? I was paranoid. I was acting bizarre. I'm lucky I made it through that without ending up in a psych ward, because ultimately I didn't need to be on psychiatric medication for my rest of my life. Like many people, that happens to them, right? And I'm not against that. I'm not against psychiatry. I live in the world of Western mental health. I'm a clinical social worker, but I really try to honor the spiritual with my clients and honor their experience as not just defined by psychology, right? What do these cards say here for us? Mending. This is the very last card in this deck. Each time we are hurt and allow the hurt to pass through us without understanding and integration, we accumulate an unwanted burden. This keeps us chained to the very things we need to heal. The pain, the memories, the echoes of resentments, and the arguments that we rehearse over and over. Now is the time for mending rifts, healing wounds, and letting go of the old hurts in order to reclaim your power. Now is the time to forgive, to release, to make peace, and to make amends to others. Set yourself free. You've come to a place where forgiveness is necessary if you're to move forward. Separate or together, you and the other person are still experiencing the effects of a hurt that is impacting everything you do, even if you're not aware of it. The energy needs to clear. What must you do to bridge this gap? Closing your heart is not the answer. You have the power to heal this wound. Ask yourself, what would love do? Only good will come of forgiveness and an honest redress. Everyone makes mistakes, especially when you want something very badly. You may have come to realize that in chasing after a pretty shiny thing, you lost sight of long-term sustainable prosperity. Sometimes you make choices that look good at first, but ultimately lead to loss or failure. It's time to forgive yourself and others. Don't blame anyone else. You get to start again, wiser and more mature. The journey to true abundance can be bumpy. Make amends to anyone you may have hurt along the way, especially yourself. Forgive those who may have taken advantage of you. Let go and learn from this. You are now that much closer to achieving the kind of prosperity that really fulfills you. Nothing is ever lost or wasted when you view it from this perspective. And the next card is Thinker, card 44. And it came in the reverse, so I'm just going to read the reverse meaning. You might be suffering from analysis paralysis. Thinking has its place, but trying to figure everything out logically is not going to work right now. That's what we just touched on, right? Your conclusions will likely be faulty, and you may act upon false assumptions that will get you into a jam. Give your mind a rest. Do something creative. Exercise or meditate. Soon you'll come to your senses, and an aha moment will bring you clarity. I'm called to this deck right now too, which is not a deck I often read from, but I'm going to because I think it's going to help tie this messaging together. And then we'll see if I'm going to scry or not. I might not do the scrying because I feel like this message has already been kind of a long message. But to me, it really resonates again with that dream with my sister, because we're not in a place of being connected anymore, but I've had to grieve that, right? And let go. And try to forgive, even though, like, she doesn't necessarily need my forgiveness, but I'm hurt by the fallout still, right? Because we were so close. And so I have to work on letting go. Like, she gets to be who she is. Like, I don't, and I get to be who I am. And I can forgive her and forgive myself. And that helps me let go. In that dream, there was that longing, right? But there isn't really a going back, but I can at least practice and find peace with the new reality now, right? That includes forgiveness for both of us in the equation. She's not asking for my forgiveness, but I'm hurt, right? So I have something to forgive, even if she's not asking for it, right? It's card 33. So we have 3344, and we also have 22 out here with these 2 of Cups and 2 of Pentacles. Card 33 is sharing, and it's a community card. It's this joyful group of femme-looking people, right? Gathered together. There is giving and receiving and giving. While solitude is necessary at times, and you're in that right now, in the hermit energy, as you go through this intense experience, our lives also need to be shared for sustainable and healthy living as well as growth. The true sharing of ourselves does not take anything away from us. It is not about giving all that we have. It does not come from a place of fear or lack or a bartering mindset. We freely offer what we have from a place of abundant love and a sense of completeness. True receiving is from this state too. Our spirit self opens in communion with those who are safe and of a pure heart. Those who are not individuals who require our discernment. Those who are not are individuals who require our discernment and refrain when sharing. So that blade fine Queen of Swords discernment, right? About who you open up to and who you choose to say a goodbye with love and forgiveness, right? To discriminate between who and what enhances or depletes our energy is necessary. If there is a constant feeling that something is not right or does not make sense, then it probably is not the right choice for us to continue engaging with that person, group, or organization. It's okay to take time to find and gradually get to know our circle of transparent and trustworthy people. Those who we can feel safe and comfortable enough with to open to cannot be forced or accumulated in a rush. It's okay to ask when unsure whether something unspoken is expected in return for receiving what seems to be freely given. True sharing is transparent and expects no form of payment in exchange. When others give back of their own volition, whether others give back of their own volition is irrelevant to individuals who are not motivated by giving in order to get. In giving and receiving through knowing others and being known is the greatest gift of all, sharing of all. There is much empowering value in truly seeing and being seen, hearing and being heard, and loving and being loved by one's circle. Shared experiences can heal and support us in all facets of life. Together we can become more of who we are. We are exponentially enhanced by the diversity of experience and multiple perspectives when we are in good and genuine company. When our presence, willingness, wisdom, and abundance is mutually brought to the table, we grow in ways that are inaccessible to us when alone. These featured women encourage you to look at where sharing is and is not in your life. Where does it feel good and where does it not? With whom do you share yourself? Where do you hold back and why? It is for good reason. If it is for good reason, excellent. If not, it might be worth test sharing something with the safest people in your life who you enjoy being around. If you are a taker but not a giver, really explore the reasons why you do not reciprocate. Is there a specific fear that you can identify or something to lose at stake? Be kind and compassionate with why you believe that you have nothing to give. So, this is a little specific at that point, but this is a process for you of relationships. It came through here about not until this position here, the 10 of Cups and the 2 of Cups. You would like to already be at this 10 of Cups, and it makes you vulnerable to rushing the process. You have people around you that you can trust. That's important. So you have a choice at this point to start cultivating those relationships and maybe letting go of some of the ones that are, not in your life in a close way anymore. That's okay to go through those kind of changes, but I'm sensing that it's very frightening for you. It was for me too, and in fact I resisted it for a while because I didn't want to go through the loss of what it all meant, right? Gosh, I feel like this has become a long reading, but I'm going to go ahead and see if I see anything here. Oops, what's happening? I'm seeing a face that's like twisting on itself. And so I feel like that kind of represents what we're talking about. Like, where is my community? Is it back there or is it ahead? And you're going through this really intense process. You understand you need to surrender to it. You're really wise on this journey. I'm wanting this to feel affirming for you and not like I'm trying to counsel you. I'm not. You know what you know. You're already very solid in your understanding of what you're going through. Yeah, I'm seeing an owl, which is wisdom, right? Wisdom, and often can foreshadow death and a dying to the old way. The death card didn't come out, but it's an omen of a change, most certainly, and a permanent one like a tower. I'm seeing a figure like a deity with a winged helmet. It might be Hermes, right? Hermes Trismegistus, that might be a guide for you on this journey. Now that deity has the Wadjet image of the snake coming out of the third eye and the sun, like halo crown almost. Ooh, and now that figure is turning into a horned god, the horned one, from more of a European tradition. They have ram's horns. It's really powerful. This is a highly spiritual process for you that you're going through. It's not just about your crew. It's not like just your 3D world, right? You're trying to find a community that resonates with where you're going and the growth process that you're in. You have a lot of spiritual guidance. That deity is coming through really, really strongly. Now it's showing me like an Anunnaki, Middle Eastern, those spirit guides, like with fish. They were like otherworldly, like highly strange, they would be considered in today's terminology, right? So you might be trying to sort out, like, who can I trust and who feels like kind of BS. Yeah, now I'm seeing communities and tribes of people who participated in head flattening with boards. And not just in the Pacific Northwest region where I live, but the Chinookan people did that, as well as other parts of the Americas. And maybe in the African continent too, I'm not really sure. Yeah, I'm seeing another bird, like a hawk or a kestrel, a smaller bird of prey, like a Cooper's hawk maybe, or a kestrel. Now I'm seeing what looks like an angel, and they're carrying an implement that I don't know what it is. I'll try to see if I can find it maybe later, but it's like a sphere, and it has a blade coming off of it. It's like a sphere that they're holding, and it's like a feather or a blade that's coming off of it. They're carrying it like a tool. Now I'm seeing like a monkey figure, like a howler monkey, it looks like, only a little smaller. And a Turkish eye. I'm seeing a Turkish eye, like the one that helps you ward off evil eye. So you have protection, just don't remember to utilize what you have out there to protect yourself through a time like this, like a Turkish eye, right? Yeah, the great eye is coming through a lot. I see another one now. Another great eye. And now I'm seeing a galaxy, like a forming, like the kind that you see at a distance from those amazing images. Well, you just see all those galaxies, like way off. I'm seeing one here, a galaxy. Very cosmic. Ooh, oh my god, and a beautiful tiger. A really gorgeous tiger face with its mouth open. Really, really beautiful. And a lion, because I can see there's one with a mane also. Yeah, that lion is just beautiful. It's so beautiful. Man, I could just look at this lion forever. Oh, So comforting. That lion is really coming through with a comforting energy. That might be you might be a Leo, or a lion might be an animal that has real significance for you. I'm kind of even hearing Iron Lion Zion, which is a great song. I love that song. Okay, I'm gonna let it go. I could just gaze forever. It feels so soothing. It really does. Like, it soothing my soul. I hope you like this reading. I'll see you in the next one. Thank you again for being here.